you have to first identify your talents. You have to identify your talents. How do you do that? Number one, strengths. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to do that handout if you don't mind. How many of you are familiar with StrengthsFinder 2.0? How many of you have taken StrengthsFinder 2.0? Okay. I suggest everyone in this room do an assessment. How many of you have children? How many of you put those children in some kind of music lessons or dancing lessons at some point? Okay. Imagine this. You have a child, 5 years old, say, you know what, we need to get Susie to play an instrument. Okay, what should we do? Oh, I think the violin's beautiful. It's happened. Or, well, no, I think the piano. She's more adept at the piano. I'll tell you what, let's get a violin, let's get a piano, let's get her lessons, and let's see how she does after a year. So after a year, Susie sits down, and she sits at the piano, and you can tell she's destined for concert, to become a concert pianist. I mean, she's just making those runs and sounding like, man, where did this come from? You give her the violin, she can barely get through Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I think that's the first thing they teach him with violin, right? Evidently, she has a talent when it comes to the piano. Not so much with the violin. So what do? Do you spend more money on violin lessons, get a better violin instructor? Would you do that? How many of you would do that? How many of you would double down on the piano, get rid of the violin? Let's park the violin in the closet for a moment or put it up on eBay and get rid of it. Let's focus all of the energy on her talent as a pianist. How many would do that, would make that investment? Why don't we do it for ourselves? Why don't, you know, people say you got to work on your weaknesses. Identify your weaknesses and work on them. What happens when you work on your weakness? How many of you ever tried working on something that you're weak at? Really? Really? And how good did you become working on your weakness? While you took your valuable time away from developing and further developing your strength. How many hours do we have? 24. No one in this room has any more than 24 hours, and you spend 7 or 8 of those sleeping. So, identify your strengths. StrengthsFinder is very unique insofar there are 34 strength themes in here. Themes like, I don't have my glasses, individualization, maximizer, focus, let's see, some positivity, and it gives you a full description of what those mean. And I can tell you that I took my first StrengthsFinder, I guess it was about 8 years ago. I took my first StrengthsFinder, and it just awakened me to who I am and why I behave the way I do. I understand now why I went through 25 different jobs in my lifetime because of my strength set. What StrengthsFinder will do, out of those 34 themes, you take an assessment, it will identify your top 5 strengths in their order. Now, what does that mean? The uniqueness of that, there's 1 in 30 million people that are likely to have the same identical top 5 in the same order. It's like a DNA of your strengths. And if you spend time focusing on your strengths and amplifying them and developing them, you become more aware of the gifts and the values that you can bring to your work. It's a valuable, valuable tool. It really is. Personality. How many of you have taken the Myers-Briggs test? Come on. Myers-Briggs personality type indicator, right? That's a free assessment, and what it does, it puts you not 1 in 30 million, but one of 16 personality types that informs you how you process information, how you interact with other people, how you understand other people. And let's face it, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So many of us spend more time talking than we do listening. And listening is a gift. Listening is a valuable gift that you can implement in your work. The more you listen, the more you learn, the more you acknowledge other people and what they have to say, which goes a long way in the development of your career. Adaptability. You've got to be able to adapt to the new environment. If it's 10 degrees outside and you walk out in shirt sleeves, you've got to adapt. You've got to go back in and put a jacket on and face the cold. And it's like anything in life. It's like anything in life. You have to be able to move. Everything is not set in stone. Would everyone agree with that?